Hello, happy full moon. So the moon is in Leo, the sign of Leo, the sign of our courageous heart, our sovereign self, our leadership, opposing the sun in Aquarius. They are opposites. They sit on this axis point, this axis of duality, right? Equal and opposite. So I am myself, I shine brightly, and the we space, we community. So we're blending those two as Pluto moves into Aquarius, the sun is in Aquarius, and this full moon lights up the equal and the opposite. And so I'm going to draw from the human design and gene key inside that full moon. The moon is highlighting a particular gate of the I Ching, and that is gate 31. Gate 31 is leadership. So I've been saying this over and over about evolutionary feminine leadership, and that this transit of Pluto into Aquarius is the evolutionary transit of the divine feminine. I'm just going to declare that, call me crazy. We'll look at it in 2025, 2026, 2027 and see if I'll be damned. We were right there. But we're going to make it so because we're going to focus our collective consciousness on the target of the divine feminine getting integrated into our culture, into our world, coming out of the closet through you and me. So if you're listening to this message is for you. This message is about aligning with your soul purpose. That's what Leo is standing for in this full moon position. There's a lot of oppositions right now. And so things are getting, just dredged from the bottom, bringing it up. And that's just going to happen. And we know that energy. We also have this sense of we're on the cutting edge, and that cutting edge can feel sharp. It can feel like you're on a cliff edge. And indeed, in many ways, we are. So hopefully, if that validates your experience, that, oh my God, I don't even know what's real right now. A couple of my clients said to me, am I crazy? These things are happening, either quantum manifestations, they think it, boom, it's happening. That's happening for people right now, as well as new gifts, new ways of being, I really wanted that, but I don't want that anymore. I just heard from another client on our Sunday sisterhood activation who spent her life work, and I've known her for a very long time. So I've followed her trajectory, and for decades, she's been a yoga teacher and energy master, a channeler, a healer. And she was sharing that, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to become a death doula. And she's just crying, I didn't even want that, but I feel so called in that direction. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It was kind of like leaning into the soul calling and then backing out, going I don't know. Did I just say that? Did I really just say that? Don't hold me to it, And really, we all just bore witness, because there's no holding anybody to anything. It's all a choice. And in some ways, it's like a choiceless choice, where when you speak that out of your mouth and your sisters are around you in a sacred container, we're just witnessing what the soul has to say. We each have our marching orders, and they may be totally different than what we thought. So if this resonates with you, I did a video on your mission has changed. This is all about Pluto moving into Aquarius. So in this full moon frequency, we have the frequency of leadership. So as Leo sits in the opposite of Aquarius, it's telling us to rise and shine for the benefit of humanity, for everyone. And in gene keys and human design, the sun is lighting up gene key 41, which is the evolutionary gene key, where we can get lost in fantasies about the future, making stuff up without living it, without being in the present moment. And I already did a transmission on that. Or we can really start to take action on the new things coming through and be really unattached to how it looks, how it unfolds. So the sun in that place is being opposed by the moon in gate 31. Gate 31 is the gate of leadership. It's the gate of recognized leadership. So it's not like, I'm a leader. It's what other people see in you and mirror back to you. That's what's so beautiful. Like, I see your gifts. And this is why community is so incredibly important, and why I'm a huge stand for community, because so much of the work that is hard is not hard in community. When you have others witnessing you and they're mirroring back to you, it just makes it simple. It just lands. It just lands. You get it at a certain level. If you're just in your head thinking, you can be going insane. So get yourself into a community where you have feedback, and you're welcome to join ours in the Evolving Sisters Network. So this 31, the shadow is arrogance, and that's more that ego dominated sense of leadership that we are leaving. And as divine feminine evolutionary leaders, most people I know do not want anything to do with that. We're just like, no, that's the old paradigm of leadership. And we can see so many examples of how that kind of leadership is hollow. It actually does more harm. It is not for the benefit of humanity. It's egos sitting in places of power, just protecting their own self-interest. That was never the plan of how government should be run. So that's why Pluto is taking the wrecking ball to that and giving the power back to the people. So this is a collective energy. This is about the collective rising into our power, which is what? Our power is really when we step into our soul frequency, our soul energetic signature. And I say it that way because we're a culture that understands branding. and in some ways, like, branding is awesome because it creates a listening for others. It's like shorthand, it's congruent, it's packaged. Now it has to be in Leonian terms, it has to be authentic. So when we have authentic soul alignment and we have this coherency, that equals influence, and that equals impact, and that equals like the frequency that you carry gets like rippled out there and does good in the world. That's really what we're talking about. Gene Key 31 is about shining your influence. Where do you want to have influence? Now, we're used to thinking about it in like social media terms or in power structure terms, but think of it differently. Think of it in the ways that you want to influence, like what happens at your kid's school, what happens at your dinner table, what happens in your home, what happens at your work, your neighborhood. There are all places of influence, and it doesn't mean power over. Instead, it means that who I'm being, I am radiating in my soul purpose such that other people can see it and reflect it back to me. And that makes a difference. And for me, in this Aquarian age, what we're really wanting to make a difference is for other people to see who they really are. So, you know, even the worst of the worst people, they were once babies. You know, they were once like innocent human beings. And that heart of innocence is still there. And so the power and influence that we can wield might be able to touch those places in others. Isn't that what a healer is really all about? And again, these are consensual relationships. People, they recognize you as someone they want to have influence them. Because without that, it becomes the old paradigm of manipulation and pushing and top down. Let me tell you what you need to do. So here's some things that are obstacles to leadership that I notice inside of divine feminine women. When I say, like, you get to step up to your soul purpose, everyone's like, yes, I want to step up to my soul purpose. But then when it comes to this word leadership, what happens is we start to think about, well, wait a second, I don't want to be responsible for other people. Because somehow we have a conditioned old response that we are responsible for other people. And it can even come through, like, with your kids. You know, I have a friend whose kids are like 8 and 10. And, you know, she was sharing with me something was happening in their household. And I was like, well, you know, what would it be like if you let your son be responsible for the outcome of that particular decision? You know, there's a point at which you as the mom are there to hold space and make sure, or the dad, and make sure that, you know, they're safe and out of danger. But it's hardly dangerous when a child learns a lesson. Like I forgot my shoes and therefore I'm late to school, that kind of a lesson. Not, you know, I'm talking about normal life here. So in that way, you know, we all carry this thing of like, I don't want to be responsible for other people, so I am not going to step into my authority. That's one thing we're learning here, is how to step into our authority and let other people have their own experience. That applies to people who don't like you. That's the other thing I hear inside of this conversation about visibility. I don't want to be seen, or I used to say it this way, I want to be seen, but not that seen. And why? Because when you're that seen, you have haters. And we all know that. We live in cancel culture. We have haters. We have people who get super triggered by what you say and therefore attack you. And so some people decide, you know what? I want none of that. So I am not going to step up. I'm not going to declare myself a leader. I don't want any influence. Or maybe they don't want any overt influence, but then that is tricky because it leaves you into manipulation, you know, like trying to get your kids to do something you want them to do. That's like manipulative. So is there another way that we can stand in our leadership, which isn't power over or domination, but it's really the power of our beingness, who we are being? And that's what's under wraps right now. Like we're here to open that. We're here to step into that. And we're here to cultivate the muscle of that, because it's going to happen over the next couple of years. This is not one and done. I'm presencing a message that's evolutionary, which means we haven't learned it yet. I'm seeing something on the field and reporting it to you, which you get to check into your embodiment. Does that bear witness inside yourself? Are you being called to step into your soul purpose? You know, that's the question of the day, because that's what Leo ultimately really wants you to shine and be like radiant, magnanimous. I hope that's the right word. and just shine. And that shining is a result of being. Like radiance is a result of being. We juxtapose like radiance against like cultural norms of beauty. Cultural norms of beauty. Someone can be very beautiful, but not radiant, because radiance is an internal comfort with oneself, like maybe not even comfort, acceptance of oneself. So one of the evolutionary trends for this whole year is going to be dealing with inner child wounds to come to a place of self-love and self-acceptance. That's huge. Imagine what a culture is like when we do that kind of work. So to step into your leadership and to really be visible and have the ripple effect and the influence and impact that you are meant to have as an evolutionary feminine leader, I'm seeing two things that need to come forward. And one of them is this inner healing, this healing of our childhood wounds, this relationship that we are willing to tend to with our inner child and really grow her up, because the inner child is the one who doesn't want to risk the exposure, who doesn't want to be criticized, who's taking everything personally because they were little when that happened and they were developing when that happened. And so it's natural, but you as an adult are not that person anymore. And so your job is to reparent that little one inside. And you know, my mom is doing that at 81 years old. So it's never too late. It's never too late to get in contact with your little one inside. That's what I see on one hand. And then on another, I see nervous system work, nervous system work. We are all like coming out of I'm going to say coming out because I'm really going to presence where we're moving to, but out of this culture of being reactive and massively triggered. I notice it in myself. You know, you talk about a political thing or something I believe really strongly, and then I hear someone say the opposite. It can really trigger me. My nervous system can get activated. And the truth is that kind of friction doesn't have to be derailing. It doesn't have to take you off your game. So don't fantasize about this day when I'm no longer triggered, right? We really are not here to wait. We're here to work it in the moment, in the present moment. We're here to work it. What we really want is tools for the moment. We want self-compassion in the moment, like that's happening, noticing. I notice it's happening. Like my awareness stops going out here and it goes automatically to my body. And that's a signal, like a solar flare or like a fire, alarm. It's a signal, something here needs to be tended to. That's of utmost importance. So we go in and we tend to that. And that will over time start to produce a relationship where you are calming your own self down because you're being the parent you never had. You're being self-accepting, self-loving, and self-compassionate. And that's going to calm your entire system. And then your spiritual self, your higher self can speak to you and say things like, not everyone's going to like you. It's just the way it is. I'm around a lot of dogs and they all don't like each other. It just happens. You have some dogs that everybody likes because they've got this particular way of being. And that you have some dogs that just piss off other dogs just by their look on their face. Like dogs read energy. So if that's not personal, which I don't think it is, it's not personal to the dog, it's not personal for us either. And that's a huge piece of influence. That's a huge piece of impact, really getting the non-personal nature. And I notice that the more that I accept myself and bring self-love and self-compassion here, I'm really like, it might hit me as, oh gosh, I wish they liked me. But then I move it through, I reparent, move the energy, reparent. And that could be through crying, dancing, screaming, throwing a pillow, whatever it is that your inner child wants to do. And then coming to this place of, yeah. And that's just what it is right now. That's just what they said right now. It's not personal to me. And the more you're on your soul mission, you're like, sometimes I've evaluated, oh, well, what else would I do? Well, and I do the math and I come up with nothing. It's just this. Okay. So I'll get back to doing just this. And you repeat that. It's like exposure therapy. You repeat that over and over and over. And pretty soon your soul mission has traction. You have traction. You're like doing it. You're doing it. You're doing it. And yes, those people over there might have something to say. And at this time in my game, I got to tell you, when people send me some kind of criticism, or I usually never get it super mean, but just some kind of criticism, I am really with it. Like, can I see their point of view? Because I have the nervous system for it. I have committed myself to being this leader, and it's receiving feedback. I can get their point of view. I can see where they're coming from. I can relate to maybe their frustration. And if I'm triggered, I don't respond. I just wait until I'm not triggered. And I do my own process, because my trigger is an alarm clock or alarm bell for me to do my own work. And then I come back and I find I have much more spaciousness to respond. And it honestly makes me a better leader, that friction, because, iron sharpens iron. There are mistakes that I made at the beginning that I wouldn't make now, because I've learned my lesson, or I've gotten the feedback. And we're not perfect. We're here to get feedback. We're here to actually influence each other. And so it's like, well, why can't they do it nice? Well, yeah. The truth is, sometimes you can do it anyway, and it's going to be hard to hear. But if you've been in a relationship, if you have kids, if you have a business, if you have customers, chances are you've gotten thicker skin. And thicker skin is needed, because not everything is personal. I remember in law school, law school is kind of grilling. They just pick your name out of a hat and grill you to answer questions. And you may not even have a clue, but you're on the hot seat. And I remember talking to a peer and saying, oh my gosh, I was like, first year, I don't like that. She's like, look, I have 8 kids. There's nothing that can touch me, because she's been used to 8 different individuals giving her feedback about who she is, or what she looks like, what she's wearing, how she mothers, what her policies are, what her boundaries are. It's, God bless people like that who have handled a lot of feedback. And, some people are constitutionally capable of more, because they have more grounded earth energy. For those of us who have fire energy, or God forbid, air energy, it can really knock us out. So what we get to do is really shore up our nervous system. Do practices that shore up your nervous system. Have like health hygienic things that you do every day, spiritual and health, to support your nervous system. So I said self-love, reparenting, and nervous system are 2 of the things that are going to support you as you step into your soul mission. Maybe wobbly at first. Maybe you're just receiving the new message of, holy crap, I was doing that, and now I'm getting the message to do this, like my client said on Sunday. Or maybe you're pivoting, or maybe you're in for a huge change in your life. There was a number of people who have commented on my channel saying, oh my God, you're so right. I'm leaving my partner of, X number of decades, and I'm going out on my own, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. Let's just send love to everyone. Something that Dalai Lama said is that everyone wants to be happy. Let's hold that for each other. This is perhaps a way to really bring in the gold of the Aquarian age. You want to be happy. I want to be happy. And a lot of our conditioning gets in the way, we're in our own ways through self-sabotage, and we're in other people's ways through projecting our angst and our fear onto them. So let's remember that those you see with your eyes are you as well. And that's the motto for showing up in your leadership, doing the thing that you're here to do, having the right to experiment and fail and get it wrong, and also take feedback, because Gene Key 31, as we come full circle to where the moon is really about humility. At the end of the day, the best leaders are humble leaders. And that doesn't mean, I don't know how to do anything. No, they really own their expertise. They own their lane, but they're also listening and taking in feedback. And as a leader, part of your job is to not let the feedback go so far in that it's like a dagger to your soul. No, it's to really take it neutrally and lightly and consider it. And if it really gets you to then do that deep inner work, this is the foundation. I mean, this Leo full moon is beautiful because it's giving us the foundation for what it is we're going to go into for the rest of the year, and the kind of energies that we need to have come 2027. That's our evolution. That's when we really step into our truth, our soul mission. Like we'll be doing it by then. And the earth could be an incredibly different place if that were true today. If today we worked on being that person right now in this moment. And not even like, yes, we have that future out there, but don't even worry about it. Be here now in this moment. So that's all I got for you for the full moon in Leo. May you shine. May you know who and what you really are. And may you have the humility to serve.